Welcome everybody to the new LiveWaves webinar session by Fedrigoni Self-Adhesive. Escape the ordinary, different uses of paper for a stronger message. My name is Nicole Valle, I'm business developer of Fedrigoni Self-Adhesive. Today we're presenting a new webinar together with Jelena Fiškuš, creative director, co-founder and co-owner of the Croatian Studio Sonda. Jelena will drive us through the most beautiful case studies to explore how different creative uses of paper can contribute to convey a stronger and more meaningful message. Paper is an incredible tool indeed, versatile, and it's for and able, to awake the sense, starting from offering a unique tactile experience. For any question you may have, please use the chat box and we will answer to all your questions at the end of the webinar. For the question left unanswered, don't worry, we will email you the answer later. Should you have any technical issue during the webinar, our staff is at your disposal. You just have to ask the support requests using the chat box. The webinar is recorded and you will receive the video in a dedicated follow-up email. And now, I leave the floor to Jelena.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jelena, and here next to me is sitting my colleague and co-founder of Studio Sonda, Sean, and he will be my technical support and he will playing videos so I could concentrate on the content. I'm really honored that Fedrigoni invited us to host this webinar, and of course that we have the opportunity to present some of our work. And let's start. The title is Escape the Ordinary. And today, actually, we will talk about how creative ways to use paper in design and communication can contribute to convey a stronger message. But first, let me say a few things about us. This is where we are located. It's a small town called Vizinada, and Studio Sonda is a creative studio. Why we are in this small village? Well, I will show you why. This is why, because every morning we get up and this is what we are looking from our office. Those beautiful valleys, olive trees, those medieval towns on the top of Istrian hills. It's really, really beautiful. And of course, we feel very inspired being here. And that is what's really important for our job. In these 15 years or more, we did work for many regional and international clients from all over the world. We did packaging and design and advertising campaigns and even some product design. But what we really like the most is to do business with local people, with small local brands, because usually they don't have major budgets. And what we do is help them create stories and around their brands, around their products, and because often the product, it's the only means they have to communicate with their customers since they don't have big budgets. And then we are really, really happy to see them succeed on the market. But let's get back to the subject, paper and creative ways to use paper. I will start with a little story. It's 2015 and me and Sean, we were in Miami at the ADC conference. You probably know this is one of the oldest award show in the design and communication industry. And then hundreds of creatives are sitting in the room and we receive the task. We get a simple A4 format piece of white paper. And the task was to represent how a person who has a cancer feels like. This is the workshop. And the workshop leader was Mr. Jim Riswold. He's a very famous creative who worked for, made great commercials with Spike Lee and Michael Jordan for Nike, Tiger Woods, etc. And he promised that the best work will share the stage with him and drink vodka. So he was walking around and looking at the work done. And then he stood in front of one work and he said, "Who did this on stage with me?" And that's me on the stage with Jim, because obviously we won. And why? If you want to see the work, this is why. The simple crumpled piece of paper, this is how the person that has a cancer feels like. So basically in 10 minutes of brainstorming and 10 seconds of execution, this work was selected among all other beautiful illustrations and won vodka, which by the way was great. But why this story? Because what we want to talk about now today is how to use materials, in this case the paper, to convey an even stronger message and at the same time to be creative and stand out. Paper. Let me start with some concrete examples of work we did. Actually, the workshop in Miami was not the first time we crumpled the paper. We did it also a few years before for an exhibition called On Paper. And that exhibition wanted to show that not only the final work, the final piece of art is valuable, but also the drafts that are being created in the process. So we decided to create an exhibition catalog out of this crumpled paper, to give crumpled paper an importance, and of course to stress out how the paper can be a great medium to transmit the message. So this mountain of crumpled paper was actually the catalog for the exhibition, and I think that it looked really nice on shelves next to other catalogs of other exhibitions. And we crumpled also the paper for the purpose of one gin. The name is carbon, charcoal. We did the whole branding and naming for this gin. Why it's called carbon? Because ingredients that grow, that are inside the gin, grow in the area where the last charcoal makers in the state live. People who process charcoal in an old traditional way. And we found that story very, very interesting, especially if we know that there also exists on the market activated carbon, which is useful for detox and prevents for hangover. And we created the whole story about this gene. We connected in with carbon, and of course then we wanted also the label to recall the charcoal. So the paper, as you can see, is actually imitating the structure. What is interesting about this product is that not only we invented everything, the brand and the name and the story, but also we suggested to the producer to have the interesting serving ritual and to use activated carbon. So while other gins are being served with, I don't know, lemon or cinnamon or cucumber, ours is being served with activated carbon. And this gin is really a total boom here on the market in Croatia, but it's also being exported to Japan and Germany, Switzerland, Austria. And what's most important, when you drink it, you don't have headache at all. That's what we like. Next, paper is also very interesting because you can always recycle and reuse it. Here is the example of one ugly poster that we created for the purpose of the Festival of Used Book that is being organized every year here in the near town. And we remembered that actually we have a lot of posters lying in some basement, dusty and forgotten from the last year. And then we thought, if we have old posters, and this is the Festival of Used Books, let's make a used poster. We used the screen print technique, and then we repainted the old data. And on purpose, we potentiated that fact because we really wanted to show that the poster is used. So this poster, as ugly as it is, actually brought the voice about the small local festival all around the world. It was, for example, in many galleries. This one, the National Design Gallery in New York. It was published in many, many, many books. But the reason why we love it the most is the fact that it entered the elementary school textbooks. So that the children, while they're learning about typography and design, can actually see our poster and read about it. And it's here right next to the, I don't know, Bauhaus or logo of Olympic Games. And we are very happy about it. The following example is the label for Piquentum. This is a natural wine here from Istria, the special edition, and the winemaker, Dimitri, our friend, he always said that the most important, crucial things for the success of his wines are the space and time and honesty. So on the day of the harvest, which was, I remember perfectly, it was 21st of September 2012, because why I remember it is because it was the day we collected the 200 copies of this newspaper, and we kept them for 2 years from the day of the harvest, so that when the wine will be bottled, we made a label of them, and the wine was bottled in 2014. So this label, 2 years after the harvest, tells a story about one moment in time, in one specific place, in a completely honest way. And we didn't want to put any extra design on it, so it's made out of the paper, and it's honest, completely honest as the wine itself. This label was also very well perceived. It won many awards. And so the wine from small Istria ended even in a Korean magazine, where, as you can read here, it says that both wine and the label are great. When we talk about the paper, it's sometimes also good to get out of the frame, as we did on the next example. Again, we are with Piquentum, who 1 year, the producer decides to produce extra virgin olive oil. And we were sitting there in his yard and tasting the olive oil. And we saw exactly this site. And that was it. We knew immediately how the label is going to look like, because the olive oil was so genuine and natural, but at the same time a bit spicy, exactly like this little boy that who ran naked in the yard. And by the way, this is the son of the producer himself. His name is Bastien. And so we decided to put one plain white label on a white bottle, and to put a simple illustration, generic one, of olive tree. And then we let little Bastien into the basement and gave him colored crayons so that he can draw whatever and however he wants on those labels. And actually, this is the result. For us, this label represents perfectly the product because it's genuine, it's natural, but at the same time, it's spicy. And of course, every bottle is unique. Another project, interesting project, in which the paper also came outside the frame is the catalog for the exhibition of contemporary art for French Label group. It was called Metaphoria 2, and it was held in Greece. Actually, this catalog was conceived as the virtual tour through the exhibition. So, as you can see on the left side, there is a piece that was exhibited, and on the right, there is the paper trying to interpret it. And that was the case with other pieces, and the paper proved to be really, really an excellent tool for this purpose. Eventually, the catalog for Metaphoria somehow became a work of art itself, and it was also even distributed in Walter Koenig Cultural Bookstore, which is one of the key workplaces for publications in the field of art and architecture. And next example, I will show you now the video, and then it's a little showcase so you can see it. Okay, so back to the presentation. Just a second, please. Okay, so as it's obvious in this video, what we wanted to say is that the most interesting thing happened hidden from the eye on the top of the heels, or obviously above the label. Sometimes, on the other hand, we like to frame things. Do you know who this is? This is Super Mario, and not the one from video games, but he's a very famous football player from Croatia, even winner of the bronze in the World Football Championship in France, and member of national team, and the goal kicker of the season 2000. If you are wondering what he's doing now, he has this beautiful property, and among other things, he's also producing wine. So, inspired by this gorgeous architecture with interesting window frames, we created a label for him that is actually connecting the wine with the place where it's being produced, but also we wanted to show that it's not the label that it's important, but actually the wine, since the function of the label is to frame and highlight the product. And I will now show you another video and few examples on how you can even deny a paper. Let's have a look. Here, obviously, we tried to evoke the feeling of Bora and Fumarea by using this pause paper and substituting pages with this kind of paper. We really wanted to emotionally to recreate this feeling because it's really such a cold and specific wind. Okay, we denied the paper also in this project, which is still in a working phase, and again is a wine producer, and he not only he lives on the island, but he's an island in himself because he's really a bit eccentric and a reserved person. So we wanted to show with this little white dot, we wanted to show the loneliness of the island or the man that is island, and he's actually only dedicated to his vineyards and wines, and I think that's a perfect label for him. And the most interesting thing is happening on the back of the label, where is this poem written for him, and he actually likes it a lot. It's a poem about life on the island. Then we can also wet the paper, as we did on this example. Here we go again with the Piquentum. It's another special edition. As you can see, is one of our favorite clients, but that's actually because he's really inspiring. And he always told us that if you don't treat wines in the vineyard, nor the wine in the wine cellar, then of course the wine inside the bottle cannot be the same every year. And he said that the nature is producing wine, it's not his product, but the product of nature. And we found that fact very interesting. So we wanted to create a label that shows his philosophy on this another special edition. And we wanted this label to show how the nature affects the wine every year, but at the same time wanted to show the customers what actually they can taste inside the bottle and what they can expect in that particular year. So first, we collected the data on weather conditions and the amount of rain somehow proved to be a great tool to show graphically the diversity of the nature every year. And then, of course, we put that on the label. And finally, this label shows the amount of the rain in liters per month in the year of wine production. And it begins with the month with October of the previous year and ends with the month of harvest of the current year. And it's read in lines from left to right. And this 3D effect, wet effect, actually was achieved with the special tool for 3D blind embossing. And the production was, of course, rather expensive. That's why we did it only for the special edition. But on the other hand, we decided also to make another version with cut dots, because this wet label was so well accepted by the market and by the winemaker himself, and that we decided to change all his existing labels on the left to the one with the cut dot version, and we made a collection of few vintage years. And I think what's most interesting in this project is that you can compare different vintage years, like we can see on this example. For example, in 2013, we had really heavy rains in September, so the wine is a bit weaker in alcohol, and because it rained when it shouldn't. Usually in September, you need a lot of sun for grapes to obtain the maturity. Then 2014, we had really heavy rains during the whole year, and therefore we have smaller quantities of sugar in wine. And the wine actually tastes more like some wine from the northern region and not the Mediterranean one, while the 2015 will be known as one of the best years in the production of wine. As you can see, we had a lot of sun, and both of spring and summer were warm and dry, and the quantity of rainfall in autumn was ideal. So this is really a powerful Mediterranean wine. Finally, we made a collection of 6 vintage years and promoted the transition from one label to another, and we sent this collection to all relevant wine bloggers and distributors. And here I have another video showing the whole process.
En fait, je ne fais qu'accompagner la nature, de la vigne au vin, et donc sur cette nature, je ne vais intervenir que le moins possible. Elle est tous les ans différente, les conditions climatiques changent, et en fait c'est pour cela que mes vins sont naturels. Malgré qu'ils soient du même terroir et de la même variété de raisins, ils sont chaque année différents. Et si les vins, dus à ces effets climatiques, sont si différents chaque année, alors l'étiquette doit aussi l'être. C'est donc pour cela qu'en collaboration avec l'Institut météorologique, pendant plusieurs années, nous avons collecté les données des conditions climatiques dans nos vignes. La quantité de précipitations a été retenue comme la variable qui révèle le mieux les différences de l'expression des vins, bien entendu d'une année sur l'autre. Les cercles représentent la quantité de précipitations par mois entre 2 vendanges. Et ainsi, le comportement de la nature est littéralement retranscrit sur l'étiquette. En 2018, j'ai décidé de changer toutes mes étiquettes, pourtant déjà reconnues, à partir de ce concept. Pour avoir un outil me permettant de raconter mon histoire, ma vision, nous avons réuni une collection de 6 années. 6 millésimes venant de la même vigne, représentés par cette idée et que nous avons envoyé à des distributeurs de renom.
Kad sam dobio ovu kolekciju, odmah sam znao da imam savršen alat. Obožavatelji prirodnih vina su posebna sorta potrošača. Oni ne mare za oglašavanje. Samo su činjenice relevantne. a ova boca kaže sve. Na primjer, 2017. Piquentum je imao skoro duplo manje vina. Ako pogledamo da je u rujnu kad grožđe sazrijeva i bere se, pala rekordna količina oborina, znamo i zašto. Za mene kao distributera nikad nije bilo lakše prezentirati prirodnost vina.
Okay, this was the last video. Just a second. Okay, and this project also won many awards, but what's most important and more important is that was really acknowledged in the world of wine lovers. Okay, it was, for example, served even in the most famous restaurant in Asia at that time, in many famous restaurants all around the world, and the most relevant bloggers around continent wrote about it, not only, of course, because of the label, because the wine is also great, it's perfect. So this actually was my last example, and I hope that I showed you on the example on paper how material can be a great, incredible actually tool in the task realization, and it can help to communicate even a stronger message. And my last message for you would be, remember, there are always so many ways to be creative with the paper, so keep your minds open and don't be afraid to dare. So I'm giving the word back to Nicole, and let's see if you have any questions for me. And of course, if you all can always contact us and we will answer everything you need about maybe the production or something else.
Thank you, Jelena. Amazing project, really. So please write your question in the chat box and we will try to answer all of them. Well, first of all, I completely agree with your customer that nature produced the wine, and I'm in love with the Piquentum because also the Cotone Bianco Ultra WS can use and convey the message. So I show you that use a lot this paper, and it's a great connection with the nature. And I hope to drink also with you by person the gin without having a hangover. So you're welcome, of course, in Italy. So
yeah,
let's see some question. Okay, we already have few of them. So you said you love to work for local brands, and really these examples show that you made to help that become relevant on the market, even globally known. Can you say something more about this?
Yes, because often our local customers, they come to us and they say, okay, can you do us a label or some product design or the visual identity, something like that. But they have a great product and they don't even know what the brand is and the values that their brands need to share. So that's actually the most interesting part of our job. Then we try to talk with them, to research their stories, to build stories around their brands. And this is the most interesting part of our job. And we try to point out their competitive advantages, also to find #1 positioning. And so I would say that then the design or the label, it's only the cherry on the top. The real job is to do all these things before, to be close to them, to help them. And we like it really. And then it's really satisfying to see them to become relevant on the market.
That's important. I think that passion is fundamental to work and also with producer and try to understand better also for them.
Yeah,
there
I
is
wanted to say that a label is not never enough. You really have to build stories around all this design that we are producing.
Of course, and we hope that we give you the material also, the right one to convey this message.
Without the right partner, it's impossible.
So there is another curiosity question. So how is like to work from such small village? We saw already the beautiful landscape, of course.
Yeah, as I said before, this is our advantage. We really choose them on purpose to be here because we want to be close to ourselves. We can keep contact to ourselves when we want to in such an inspiring landscape and environment. But then, let's be honest, on the other hand, when we need the contact with the world, it's really easy to work with, because this COVID situation showed to us that it's easy to work from any part of the world with any part of the world. And also our region is very well connected with the rest of the world. We are near to, I think, 4 airports. Yeah, Ljubljana, Pula, Venice even, it's really near to us. So we can choose when to be isolated and when we can easily connect with our clients. And I'm really glad and proud that we can say that you don't have to be situated in a big city or some capital city to produce relevant work.
That's true. I agree with you, and you are in a strategic area at the end, because you can convey a message to your client next the door and also globally have another effect. Completely agree.
Yes.
So we have a few more seconds, so may I ask you another question?
Of course.
When do you work on such project, do you find complication in their production? Because we already saw that the design is not so easy at the end also to apply on the label, on the bottle.
Yeah. Well, everything which is not common and it's somehow out of the box, it's always harder, but it's not impossible. So it's for us, it's really important to be surrounded with good partners that are ready to explore with us, as you are, luckily. And sometimes when we contact our producers, they say, oh my God, it's Sonda again, those maniacs with their crazy ideas. But in the end, we are all really happy when we succeed to produce something extraordinary. And with right team and the right partners, nothing is impossible.
Correct. Yeah, I saw also that most of your project has a lot of awards. For example, the top award Fedrigoni. So soon we will start again our top awards. So be prepared for next interesting project. I'm really looking afterward this.
So, we are looking forward to.
Thank you for your time, Jelena, and your team in the studio. Thank you all that participate. I think you give a lot of inspiration to all the attendees. We invite you to follow us on social media for further updates and upcoming events. So thank you again, all of you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for inviting us, and have you all a pleasant evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Ciao.
Bye-bye.